Okay, so to help us understand, God looked down at the earth and he saw the corruption and he saw evil in the heart of men. So what is that telling us? It's telling us that there was a spiritual blindness, and that spiritual blindness leads to corruption and violence. In Genesis 6:11 it says, "Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence." In Hebrew, corruption means shachet, meaning sexual immorality, and violence is hamas, meaning robbery. So they lived without the awe of heaven. They were spiritually blind, which in Hebrew means yenat ha-shamayim. Being spiritually dead means to be unaware of what is real. Okay, the reality isn't there. You just have all kinds of freedom to go out and do whatever you please and just have fun and drink and do whatever you need to do and get really drunk and rob and kill and steal, And this spiritual blindness was a slow progression. If you remember, it was 1,100 years between Adam and Noah. So it just was like a creeping snake, it just kind of creeped into the society there. So they were unaware of what was real. At that time, the casual acts of lawlessness was accepted and the norm, sort of like today, right? Sexual promiscuity was everywhere, and mankind lost their sanctity. They disregarded the truth that impaired the sense of self, and they all fell away from God. Enoch tried to warn them and convict them of their consequences and convict their consciousness, but men misused the powers of their souls to feed their corrupt inclinations. They could not run from God, and they did not grieve about their evil intentions. Every man's heart was on evil continually, and their heart was deceitful. Their habits were wicked, so God repented and resolved to destroy them. In Psalm 14:1 it says, "The fool says in their heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. Their days are vile, and there is no one who does good." So we have in Matthew 15:9, "For out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander." Defilement comes from within, okay? In verse 20 it says, "These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man." So, back then there were all these laws and all these things that everybody had to follow, they felt like, and Jesus was trying to say, no, that's not what defiles the man. It's these other things, what comes out of the heart, what comes from within, the false testimony and the slander and the, adultery. That's what defiles a man. So in 1 Peter 3:20, it says that God waited patiently in the days of Noah while the ark was being built. Okay? So, and in it, only a few people, 8 in all of the earth, were saved, and that was Noah and his family. So you remember I said it took 120 years to build the ark. So the people had plenty of time to listen to his testimony, and by the time the flood came, the men were given in marriage, eating and drinking. There was widespread violence, warfare, and false religions. Okay, so just imagine, they're just doing their daily lives. They're not listening to Noah. They're not paying attention. They probably thought he was kind of crazy, like, what do you mean? What are you doing? Wasting all your time and your money trying to build something that they really didn't understand or see before. And so it kind of sounds like today, right? So families struggle to continue with their ways of life today. They struggle against those who dominate, exploit, and oppress. They struggle against those who want to have power over them without feeling any remorse or guilt. They have no feeling to oppress the human beings and to exploit them for greatness and for profit. Okay? Pornographic expression is the norm and often bragged about. Sexual immorality, adultery, premarital sex, and men becoming lovers of men is welcomed. I mean, I don't have a TV, but sometimes I'll see commercials like on other videos or something, and it's just amazing to me. You know, it's welcomed. It's like the cool thing to do. So these things mirror what happened in Genesis, right? So these things today, it's like a reflection, exactly, because how long has it been since Jesus has been here? It's been a long time. So evilness slowly has penetrated into our society, and we're most of the time not even aware of that. Even as Christians, it's hard to know what it was like to walk outside of the world, to be in the world but not of it. So corruption, degrading passions, drunkenness, gender confusion, lawlessness leads to a depraved mind and a loss of spiritual realities, turning the population spiritually blind. And so that was something that I feel came out of my dream, and why that dream was there for me to understand what was going on in these days.